An active-passive appreciation study is really an analysis to determine whether a change in value has occurred in a business interest that was brought into a marriage or that was gifted or inherited by one of the spouses during the marriage. Under almost all of the matrimonial laws around the country, if a separately owned asset is either brought into the marriage or inherited or gifted, then increases in value in that asset during the marriage that are caused by either the funds, marital funds, or by the active efforts of one or both spouses becomes an asset subject to distribution for the marriage. An active-passive study does differ from valuing in the traditional sense, in that rather than just focusing on the value at two particular points in time, there's a continuum issue. How did the value change during the time periods? It's also many times requires the business appraiser to go back 20 or 30 years in time, because gifts and initial dates at which interests were acquired might be many years prior to the valuation date. When you're doing an active-passive analysis, certainly the traditional business valuation skills are important. However, it really takes a good bit more experience, because many times you have to value 10, 20, 30 years in the past. Also, it's an area of practice that the actual state statute and the case law interpretation end up being very important. For example, when you have the efforts of an unrelated third party that actually contributed to the increase in value of the company, states treat that differently as to whether it's a marital asset, depending upon the degree of control and influence that the particular spouse has on that unrelated individual. When an active-passive appreciation study is being performed, it really is essential that the legal team work closely with the business appraiser, especially because the impact of statutory interpretation and case law is very important in the active-passive appreciation arena. Also, what we find is when case law in a particular state is not really present, often attorneys have to look to case law in other states. So the business appraiser really needs to rely upon the work of the legal team, especially on state law interpretation issues.